Most people who work in tall buildings never think about what is above the top floor. They take the elevator to their office, they do their work, they go home. They never think about the mechanical level, the rooftop plant rooms, the HVAC catwalks bolted to the outside of the building 40 floors above the street. They never think about the men who go up there in the middle of the night to keep the systems running. And they absolutely never think about what those men hear when the machinery starts screaming. I need you to stay with me through this entire story, because what happened to me on that rooftop catwalk did not reveal itself all at once. It built slowly, the way real fear always builds, detail by detail, until I was standing in the dark above a sleeping city, and I understood something that I have never been able to fully put into words since. And if you leave before the end, you will miss the part that changed everything. The part one still think about every single night. I am an HVAC field technician. Commercial systems, high-rise buildings, industrial complexes. I work the overnight shift because the buildings I service cannot have their climate systems offline during business hours. You pull a compressor for maintenance during the day, and you have 40 floors of lawyers and accountants screaming about the temperature within 20 minutes. So I come at midnight. I come when the building is empty or nearly so, when the only people left are the cleaning crews on the lower floors and the security desk in the lobby. And I go up to the mechanical spaces and I do what needs to be done. The building I am assigned to tonight is a 38-story office tower in the financial district. Finished in the late 1980s, which means the mechanical systems are at that specific age where they are too old to be reliable but not old enough to have been replaced. The rooftop HVAC plant has 3 main air handling units and a bank of 6 compressors that feed the central chilled water system. Compressor number 4 has been flagged for a bearing inspection and a refrigerant pressure check. It is a routine job. 2 hours, maybe 3 if the bearing housing is corroded. The building coordinator gave me the access code for the roof plant room door and told me to check in with the security desk when I arrived and when I left. Standard protocol. He also mentioned, almost as an aside, that I should be aware compressor 4 tends to be loud at startup. I said, loud how? He said, like it does not want to start, like it is fighting you. He said it quickly, like he had said it too many times and was tired of the explanation, and then he moved on. I filed it away and forgot about it. The security desk officer at the lobby signs me in at 11:50 p.m. He is a big man, quiet, and he looks at my paperwork and then at me and he says, rooftop. I say, rooftop. He writes something in his log and then he says, without looking up, do not lean over the catwalk railing. I say, I never do. He says, I mean it specifically. Do not lean over the north side railing after midnight. I ask him why. He says, liability thing. We had an incident. I say, what kind of incident? He looks up for the first time. He says, finish fast and come back down before 2. That is my recommendation. I am not saying it is a rule. I am saying it is a strong personal recommendation. Then he slides my visitor badge across the desk and goes back to his screen. I take the service elevator to the mechanical penthouse floor, which is one above 38 and accessible only with the key the building coordinator gave me. From there, I take the internal stairs to the plant room, a large, hot, loud space that smells of machine oil and old insulation. The 3 air handling units are running, producing the low-frequency roar that these spaces always have, a sound you feel in your ribs more than hear with your ears. Compressor bank is on the far wall. I find number 4, which is tagged with a yellow maintenance flag from a previous inspection, and I do a visual assessment before I start. The unit looks intact. Gauges reading within normal range. No obvious external damage. I pull out my inspection kit and get to work. The first hour is completely ordinary. Bearing housing check, pressure test, refrigerant level verification. Everything I expected to find. The bearing housing shows early stage wear, significant enough to note, but not yet critical. I pull the housing cover, clean the bearing surfaces, apply fresh grease, and reseat everything. Standard maintenance. The kind of job I have done 100 times in 100 buildings. At 12:50 am I am ready to do the restart check. This is where I confirm the unit runs correctly after the maintenance work. I need it to cycle through a full startup sequence so I can monitor the pressure readings through the first load cycle. I set up my gauge manifold, confirm my readings, and I start the compressor. The security desk officer said it would be loud. He said it sounds like it is fighting you. Neither of those descriptions prepared me for the sound that compressor 4 makes when it starts. It is not a mechanical sound. I mean, it begins as a mechanical sound, the normal surge and build of a large compressor coming online, but then it transitions into something else. Something that is not a compressor. The best I can describe it is a scream. Not a human scream, not exactly, but something in the same register, the same frequency range as a human voice at maximum distress, sustained, and coming from inside the unit in a way that bypasses your technical understanding of what a machine can produce and goes directly to the part of your brain that is still an animal, the part that knows what a scream means. I step back from the unit. The sound continues. The pressure gauges are reading normal. The motor is running correctly. Everything by the numbers is fine. But the sound is wrong in a way I cannot account for and cannot dismiss. I stand there with my clipboard and I listen to the machine scream, and I try to locate the origin of the sound within what I understand about how compressors work. I cannot. I know what cavitation sounds like. I know what a failing reed valve sounds like, what a fractured piston sounds like, what a refrigerant floodback sounds like. I know the vocabulary of compressor distress sounds, and none of them match what I am hearing. This is not a mechanical anomaly. This is something else, and I do not have a category for it. The unit runs through its startup sequence. The sound peaks, holds for about 40 seconds, and then it diminishes as the compressor reaches full operating speed. The gauges confirm normal operation. By the time the unit has been running for 2 minutes, the sound has faded to a normal operating hum, and everything looks exactly as it should. I write up my readings. I note the sound in my log. Unusual auditory event on startup. Duration approximately 90 seconds. Nature undetermined. Unit functioning within all normal parameters. I gather my tools. And then I decide that since I am up here and the job is done, and it is only 1:15 a.m., I should do a quick walk of the rooftop catwalk to check the outdoor components on the other 2 air handlers before I leave. This is not required. It is just good practice. An extra 10 minutes. The rooftop catwalk is accessed through a door at the back of the plant room. It is a steel walkway about 1 meter wide, bolted to the exterior of the building at rooftop level, with a railing on the outer edge and the building wall on the inner side. It wraps around the north and east faces of the building, where the outdoor condenser units for the 2 other air handlers are mounted. The view from up here in any direction is extraordinary. The city at 1 a.m., spread in every direction, amber and white and occasional red, 38 floors below. I check the east face condenser first. Clean, clear, running normally. I walk the catwalk to the northeast corner and turn onto the north face section. The wind up here is significant, coming off the river to the north, cold and steady. I pull my jacket tighter and start toward the north face condenser bank. And that is when I look down. I do not mean I leaned over. I mean I glanced down while checking the mounting brackets on the railing post. Just a glance. Down through the steel grating of the catwalk at the 38th floor drop to the street. There is someone standing on the street directly below me, on the sidewalk on the north face of the building, at 1:15 in the morning in the financial district on a cold weeknight. Standing completely still on the sidewalk below, looking up. I can see the face in the streetlight. It is too far away to see features clearly, but the face is turned upward at an angle that is unambiguously toward me, toward the rooftop, toward where I am standing. I straighten up and step back from the railing the way you automatically do when you see someone looking at you from a height. Then I think about the security desk officer. Do not lean over the north side railing after midnight. Not after midnight. It is 1:15. I pull out my phone. No signal up here, which is not unusual for a rooftop plant environment with the amount of metal and equipment around me. I look back down. The person is still there, still looking up, not moving, just standing on the sidewalk in the street light at 1:15 in the morning, staring up at a rooftop where no light is visible from street level because the plant room lights are interior and the catwalk has no illumination. There is no way to see me from down there. I am 38 floors up on an unlit catwalk in a dark jacket. From street level, this face of the building is a flat, dark wall. There is nothing to look at up here. There is no reason to be looking up here. But whoever is standing on that sidewalk is looking precisely at the spot where I am standing. I back up until I am against the building wall, and I stand there and I watch. The figure below does not move, does not look away, does not take a step in any direction. I time it on my watch. 3 minutes. 5. 7. At the 7-minute mark, I make the decision to go back inside. I complete my north face inspection from a position closer to the wall, not leaning near the railing at all, and I go back into the plant room and I close the catwalk door behind me. I pack my kit. I do my final log entries. I take the stairs back to the service elevator and ride it down to the lobby. I check out with the security desk officer. He looks at my checkout time, 1:38 a.m., and he says, "How did it go?" I say, "Compressor 4 makes a hell of a sound on startup." He nods like I have told him something he already knows. I say, "There was someone standing on the sidewalk on the north side of the building. Just standing there, looking up." He stops writing. He says, "How long?" I say, "At least 7 minutes that I watched." He writes something in his log that I cannot read from the angle I am standing. Then he says, "We get that sometimes on the north side." He says it the same way someone says we get pigeons on the ledge. Routine. Explained. Nothing to concern yourself with. I say, "What is it?" He says, "Neighborhood thing." I say, "They were looking directly at the rooftop." He caps his pen and says, "Have a good night. Drive safe." I drove home. I sat in my driveway for a while. I thought about the way the compressor screamed and the way the sound was in exactly the same frequency range as a voice, and I thought about the figure standing on the sidewalk looking up, and I thought about the rule that was not a rule, that was a strong personal recommendation that I did not lean over the north railing after midnight, and I tried to connect these 3 things into a shape I could understand. I have been back to that building twice since. Compressor 4 has needed additional follow-up work. Both times I have done the restart check, and both times the unit screamed on startup, and both times I have done my catwalk check without going near the north railing, and both times when I have come back into the plant room and looked at my watch, it has been after midnight on the north face. I have not looked over the north railing again, not because I am afraid of what I will see, but because I am afraid of what I will see looking back. And I am afraid that on the night when I do look over, the person on the sidewalk is going to be a little closer than the sidewalk. And getting closer still. If this story made something in your chest tighten, wait until you hear what the man at the convenience store saw in the mirror. Because at least on my rooftop, the thing was outside the building. His was already inside. Story number 2, I have worked the night register at this convenience store for 2 years, and I have seen everything you would expect to see at 3 in the morning on a bad corner of a city that does not fully sleep. I have seen things that were frightening and things that were sad and things that were both at the same time. But there is only one thing I have seen that I cannot explain by any logic available to me. And it involves a mirror and a person, and the specific way that a person can be present in a reflection but absent from the room. If you think you know where this story is going, I promise you, you do not. Stay with me until the end of this. Because I have told pieces of this story to people before, and every single one of them had the same reaction at the same moment, at a specific detail near the end. And I want you to get there yourself. I want you to feel it the way I felt it, in real time, in the middle of a night shift. Alone in a store on a corner where the street light has been half burned out for 6 months and nobody has come to fix it. Let me tell you about the store first. It is a franchise location, one of the big national chains, 24 hours, open every day including every holiday. It is on the corner of 2 streets that I will not name, but that you would recognize if I did, in a part of the city that is transitional, meaning it used to be one thing and is slowly becoming another thing, and right now at 2 in the morning it is mostly empty. The nearest other open business is a gas station 4 blocks south. The nearest residential building with lights in the windows is a block and a half east. The store sits on its corner like it is the last lit building at the end of the world, and at 3 a.m. sometimes it genuinely feels that way. The store layout matters for this story, so I want you to picture it. You walk in through the glass front doors, and the register counter is directly ahead of you, maybe 15 feet from the door. Behind the counter is me, and behind me is the back wall, which has the hot food display and the coffee station and the manager's office window. To the left of the entrance are the cooler doors along the left wall, 6 sections of glass-doored refrigeration. To the right are the merchandise aisles, 3 of them, running parallel from front to back. And in the corner, the far right corner at the back of the store, mounted high on the wall at an angle that allows it to see the entire store floor, including all 3 aisles and the cooler section and most of the area near the register, is a large convex security mirror. Round, maybe 60 centimeters in diameter, silver, slightly distorting the way all convex mirrors distort, giving you a fisheye view of the whole interior. I watch that mirror constantly on night shift. It is the best tool I have. Anyone in any aisle is visible in that mirror. Anyone near the coolers, visible. The mirror shows me the whole store in one glance, and in 2 years of night shifts, I have learned to read it the way you learn to read anything you use every day. The store rules for overnight shift are straightforward for the most part. Do not leave the counter area unattended. Do not go into the back stockroom alone after midnight. Always prop the door open if you need to go in. Do not let loitering customers stay beyond 15 minutes without a purchase. Call the non-emergency line if someone refuses to leave. Standard retail night shift protocol. But there are 3 additional rules specific to this location that I was told by the outgoing night shift worker on my first week. Not written down anywhere. Just told to me, person to person, as if they were obvious things that everyone should know. First, do not turn off the music. The store plays a low-volume rotation of ambient music through ceiling speakers, and the outgoing worker told me never to turn it off no matter how annoying it gets. Never to switch it off at the console behind the register. I asked why. He said it keeps the energy right. I did not fully understand that answer then, and I still do not, but I have never turned the music off. Second, if a customer comes in and buys something and leaves, and you see them again in the mirror standing in aisle 2 5 minutes later, do not say anything. Just watch the mirror until they are gone. I said, what do you mean if they come back? He said, not if they come back. If you see them in the mirror, and you did not see them come back through the door. I did not have a response to that. He said, it has happened 4 times in 2 years. Just watch the mirror. Third rule. If the mirror in the far corner ever shows you something in the store that you cannot find when you look directly, do not go looking for it. Watch the mirror. Do not go toward whatever it is showing you. He said this one very slowly and very clearly, and he said it while looking directly at me in a way that made me feel like this was the most important information he was going to give me for the entire job. For the first several months, everything was normal, or normal enough. The usual parade of late-night customers, the insomniacs and the shift workers, and the people who need something and cannot wait until morning. The store is quiet. The music plays. The mirror shows me the whole floor. Uneventful. Then the mirror started showing me the man who does not leave. I am going to describe this carefully because I want to be precise. It began about 8 months into my time at this store. I am at the register, approximately 2:10 a.m., no customers in the store. I glance at the security mirror the way I do constantly, and the mirror shows me the reflection of the store interior, all 3 aisles, the coolers, the full floor, and in aisle 2. About halfway back, a man is standing looking at the snack display on the left side of the aisle. This is normal. This happens all night long. I look directly toward aisle 2, turning my head left to see it in person rather than in the mirror. Aisle 2 is empty. No one there. I look back at the mirror. The man is still in aisle 2 in the mirror, still standing, still looking at the display. I look directly at aisle 2 again. Empty. The second outgoing worker rule sits up and introduces itself. I watch the mirror. The man in the mirror is an average height figure, dark jacket, jeans, looking at the display with his back partially toward me. Nothing remarkable about him. Nothing visually alarming. He is just a person standing in an aisle of a convenience store. Except he is only in the mirror. Except he did not come through the front door. Except when I look directly at aisle 2, he is not there. I watch for 4 minutes. At the 4-minute mark, the mirror shows him walk to the end of the aisle and turn right, going toward the cooler section. I look toward the coolers. Empty. I look at the mirror. He is standing at the cooler doors, looking at the drinks, his back to me. I watch. After approximately 2 minutes in the mirror, he turns away from the coolers and walks toward the front of the store and then out of the mirror's field of view. I have been back every night since. I follow every rule. The music never goes off. I watch the mirror, and I do not go looking, and I watch from behind the counter, and when he appears I log him and wait, and watch him leave in the mirror through a door that never opens to let him out. He has appeared 37 times total. Always the dark jacket. Always slow, deliberate, browsing. Always in the mirror and never in the room. I have thought about what he is looking for in those aisles. I have thought about it more than I should. I have come to a conclusion that probably says more about what this job does to a person than it says about anything real. But I think he is looking for something he lost. Something ordinary, something he needed, something he would have bought on any regular night at any regular hour. Something that was here and is not here anymore. And he is still looking. He is going to keep looking. In the mirror of a store on a poorly lit corner at 2 in the morning until he finds it, or until he stops, or until the day the mirror shows him in an aisle, and I look directly at that aisle and he is there too. And that day, I genuinely do not know what I will do. I do not know if I will stay behind the counter. I do not know if I will keep following the rule. I do not know if the rule will even matter anymore at that point. All I know is that the music keeps playing and the mirror keeps showing me things. And every night I clock in and take my place behind the register and look at that convex circle on the far wall and understand that it is showing me 2 versions of the same store simultaneously. One that I live in and one that someone else does. And those 2 versions have been getting closer to each other for 37 nights. And the distance between them is shrinking. The last story tonight involves a man alone in a cemetery after rain, in the dark, with the ground steaming beneath his feet and something moving between the headstones that was not moving on his previous pass. Do not go anywhere. Story number 3. Let me ask you something before I start. Have you ever been in a place where the ground itself felt wrong beneath your feet? Not unstable, not dangerous, just wrong in some fundamental way that your body registers before your brain can name it? Where the surface under you feels like it is the boundary between 2 things, and you are standing precisely on the line. I need you to understand that feeling before I can tell you this story properly. Because the ground of a cemetery after rain, at midnight, with the soil still warm from the day and the mist rising off the grass in slow white columns, that ground feels exactly like that. Like a boundary, like a line. And my job, for the past 3 years, has been to walk that line every night. I am a cemetery maintenance and security patrol officer. My territory is a large municipal cemetery on the western edge of the city, approximately 40 acres, established in the 1870s, which means it has graves going back 150 years and a total population, if you want to call it that, somewhere north of 12,000. My shift runs from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I do regular perimeter and interior patrol circuits, check for vandalism, check for security breaches at the main gate and the 3 service entrances, monitor the grounds for any unauthorized persons, and respond to any facility alerts from the small maintenance office that sits near the main entrance. I do this work alone. There is no partner, no second officer, no one I can radio for backup within the cemetery itself. The nearest police response to this location averages 11 minutes. When I am walking the interior patrol grid at 2 a.m. between 12,000 graves in the dark with the mist rising off the ground, I am as alone as a person in a city can be. The protocols for this job are detailed and logical in the daytime context and become something entirely different in application at 2 in the morning. Most of them are what you would expect. Carry your radio at all times. Do not enter the maintenance building without logging the entry. Report any vandalism photographically before touching anything. If you encounter any unauthorized persons, do not engage directly. Maintain visual contact from a safe distance. Call the police non-emergency line. But there is a supplementary protocol document, 6 pages, that was given to me by the cemetery director on my 3rd day. He called it the night-specific guidelines, and he handed it to me with the same energy that a person hands you a bill they are not sure you can pay. Like he was not certain I was going to react well to it. He was correct to be uncertain. The night-specific guidelines cover 5 scenarios. The first 3 are environmental: ground instability after heavy rain, flooding in the lower section near the drainage culvert, wildlife encounters. Specifically, a feral dog population that uses the west perimeter fence as a denning area. Practical, manageable. The 4th scenario is titled Witness Events, and it is 3 paragraphs long and begins with the sentence: officers may from time to time observe visual phenomena within the cemetery grounds that do not correspond to any cataloged visitor or maintenance activity. This section describes what they call witness events as instances where an officer may see movement, light, shadow variation, or apparent human figures in sections of the cemetery where no authorized persons are present. The guidelines for these events are as follows. Do not approach the area where the event is occurring. Maintain your current patrol route. Log the location, approximate time, and general description of the event. Do not attempt to call out to or in any way interact with the apparent source of the event. Complete your current patrol circuit before approaching any area where a witness event has been logged. The 5th scenario is half a page, and it is titled Secondary Witness Events, and it describes what to do if, upon returning to the area where a witness event was logged after completing your circuit, the phenomenon is still present. The instructions for a secondary event are simpler. Return to the maintenance office. Lock the door. Do not resume exterior patrol until the phenomenon has been absent for a minimum of 30 minutes, as confirmed by CCTV, if available. If CCTV is not available for that section, wait 45 minutes. Log everything. I asked the director what a witness event was. He said, atmospheric and optical phenomena that are common in environments with high moisture content and dense vegetation at night. I said, your guidelines describe apparent human figures. He said, mist can take shapes that the human pattern recognition system interprets as figures. I said, the secondary event protocol says to lock yourself in the maintenance office. He looked at me and said, we take the comfort of our overnight staff very seriously. That was the entire conversation. That is the entire explanation I have ever received for those 5 scenarios and those protocols. Atmospheric phenomenon, optical phenomenon, mist taking shapes. I have been on this job for 3 years. I have logged 41 witness events. Tonight, in the rain-soaked cemetery at 12:40 a.m. with the ground steaming and the mist rising to my waist in the lower sections, I am about to log my 42nd. And this one is different from all the others in one specific way that I am still trying to make sense of. But I need to build to that. Because the thing about this job, the thing about this particular place, is that the fear is not sudden. It does not arrive like a door slamming. It arrives the way the mist arrives after rain, from the ground up, slowly, until you look down and realize you are already standing in it and you cannot see your feet. The rain stopped at 10:30 p.m., about 40 minutes before my shift started. By the time I arrived at 11, the grass was soaked and the air above the cemetery, which sits in a slight natural depression, was filling with ground mist. This is common after warm day rain. The soil retains the day's heat, and when the cold night air comes down, the temperature differential produces mist from the soil surface. By midnight, the interior of the cemetery is swimming in it. Not thick enough to impair visibility, not fog, just a continuous knee-to-waist level white haze that the path lights push through without fully penetrating. Walking through it at this hour is one of the stranger physical experiences of this job. The graves emerge from the white as you approach, gray stone rising out of the mist, and descend back into it as you pass. Larger monuments, the tall obelisks and mausoleums in the older sections, appear to float in it. The path under your feet is visible for a few meters and then disappears forward into white. And the smell, rain-soaked earth and cut grass, and the particular cold mineral smell of old stone is so specific to this place and this hour that it has become the most distinct sensory memory of my entire working life. I am on my second full interior patrol circuit. First circuit was clean. No vandalism, no unauthorized persons, all service gates secure. I am in the central section now, which is the oldest part of the cemetery, graves from the 1870s through the 1920s, where the monuments are largest and the trees are oldest and the path lighting is thinnest on the grid because the tree canopy was not accounted for when the lights were installed. This is the section where visibility is lowest on a misted night, 10 to 15 meters in some stretches before the white closes in. I am walking the main east-west path through the central section at 12:42 a.m. when I see it. To my right, between two rows of graves, approximately 20 meters from the path, visible only because it is above the mist line, a figure, standing. The mist is covering it from roughly the waist down, which creates the floating impression I mentioned, but the upper body is clear in the ambient light. Average height, standing between two headstones, facing away from me. I stop walking. I look directly at it. I confirm that it is there in direct vision, not just in peripheral. It is there. It is in the cemetery. It is between the graves, and it is not moving. I take out my clipboard, and I log the time and location, and I note the description. Then I continue my patrol route. That is the protocol. Do not approach. Continue the route. Log it and come back. I complete my circuit. I come back around to the central section from the west end of the path, which takes me approximately 22 minutes. When I reach the point on the path closest to where I saw the figure, I turn and look at the two headstones between which it was standing. Nothing there. The mist moves through the space between the stones undisturbed. No figure. No sign of any person. I sweep the area with my flashlight. Wet grass, old stones, mist. Nothing and nobody. I am about to make a note in my log and move on when my flashlight beam catches something I almost stepped past. Two small circular impressions in the wet grass, side by side, between the two headstones where the figure was standing. Impressions the size and shape of 2 feet. I crouch down and look at them. They are not deep, maybe a centimeter of compression in the wet grass, but they are clear and they are present, and they are the only compression marks in that area. No tracks leading to them. No tracks leading away. Just 2 foot-sized impressions in the wet grass between the headstones, as if someone was standing there and was lowered into that spot from above and then lifted away. I photograph them. I straighten up and I sweep my flashlight in a full 360 around me. The mist, the stones, the trees, the path behind me. Nothing moving. I continue my patrol. At 1:20, I am in the northeast section, the newest part of the cemetery, when I see the figure again. Same description. Dark jacket, average height, above the mist line, standing between 2 graves. This time facing toward me. I stop. I am maybe 30 meters away. The face is a pale oval above the mist line, indistinct at this distance and in this light, but oriented toward me. I watch it. It does not move. I do not move. We stand like that for what my watch tells me is 4 minutes. And then a cloud shifts and the ambient light reduces slightly, and the figure is gone. It does not walk away. It does not fall. The reduction in light is so slight, barely perceptible to me directly, and in that slight shift the figure is simply no longer there. This is witness event number 42. And here is the part that is different from all the others. All 41 previous witness events in my log describe a figure that I see once in one location, and then it is gone when I return. Some of them I was never certain were not mist and suggestion and the particular way this place works on your mind at this hour. This one I saw twice, in two different locations in the same patrol circuit, facing away from me the first time, facing toward me the second time, and leaving footprints in the wet grass on the first occurrence that should not have been possible if it was mist. I complete my circuit. I go to the maintenance office. I do not lock myself in. The secondary event protocol requires the phenomenon to still be present on return, and I cannot confirm that. But I sit at the desk, and I write up everything, and I look at the CCTV monitors that cover the main sections. The central and northeast sections have cameras. I scroll back through the footage from 12:40 to 1:20 a.m. The footage for the central section at 12:42 shows me walking the path. It shows me stopping. It shows the direction I was looking when I stopped. And in the area between the two headstones where the figure was standing, the CCTV shows nothing. Empty. The mist moving through the empty space between the stones. The northeast section at 1:20 shows me on the path. Shows me stopping again. Shows the graves to my right. Empty. Mist. No figure. Whatever I saw twice tonight from 30 meters, whatever left foot impressions in wet grass between headstones with no approach tracks, was visible to me in person and invisible to the cameras. It was visible to my eyes and invisible to the lens. I sat with that information for a long time. I still sit with it. After 3 years and 42 logged events, I have a theory about this place. I do not think it is supernatural in the way that word usually gets used. I do not think what I am seeing is the dead returning. I think this place is old enough and heavy enough with human weight, with the accumulated fact of 12,000 lives having their endpoint here, that it has become something different from other places. That the ground here, after rain especially, after the soil has been disturbed and warmed and the mist has risen and the boundary between surface and depth is blurred, does something to the relationship between what is there and what is visible. I think the night-specific guidelines were written by someone who understood this. Someone who understood it well enough to know you do not approach. You do not call out. You do not look for the source. You watch. You log it. You respect the boundary. Because this place is a boundary. The whole 40 acres of it. And I walk that boundary every night, back and forth, circuit after circuit, with my flashlight and my clipboard and my radio and my protocol document, and I have learned to understand it the way you understand any place you spend enough time in alone in the dark. Not fully, not comfortably, but honestly. Something shares this patrol with me on certain nights. It stands between the headstones, and it lets me see it, first from behind and then facing me, as if it is deciding something across the distance of 30 meters. It leaves footprints that no camera can verify. It disappears in slight shifts of light. And every morning at 6 a.m. when the day staff arrives and the gates open and the world comes back in, I hand over my log and go to my car and drive home and sleep. And every night at 10 I come back to the dark and the mist and the stones and the boundary. And I have not yet had a night where the secondary event protocol fully applied. Not yet one where I had to go back to the building and lock the door and wait 45 minutes. But I think about it. Every patrol. I think about what my clipboard and my radio and my protocol document cannot protect me from. I think about the night the figure on the second pass is still there. When I come back around and it is standing in the same spot, still facing me, and has not gone anywhere. I do not know what I will do that night. The protocol says go to the building and lock the door. My body, I suspect, will agree with the protocol completely and without argument. But there is a part of me, the same part that has been walking this ground for 3 years, and has developed something like a relationship with the weight and the dark of this place. That wonders what would happen if instead I stayed on the path. If I stood in the mist at the edge of the path and I looked back. If I gave it the same 4 minutes it gave me. If I let it decide across the 30 meters whatever it has been trying to decide for 42 nights. I have not done that yet, but I think about it. Out there in the mist, between the stones, with the ground steaming beneath my feet and the boundary between things at its most permeable. I think about it more than the protocol would probably recommend. And the ground does not care what the protocol recommends. The ground has been here since 1870, and it will be here long after the protocol and the clipboard and I are all part of it. That is the thing about walking a boundary for 3 years. Sooner or later you start to wonder which side of it you are actually on.